Oh, message to the Czar. It gets very cold in these Siberian villages, you see. Alright. I guess that was silly though. Very cold. Need some tea to warm me up. So, let's just look at this. Why don't we look at components first? Shake things up a little bit. Nice big tiles, little pieces of wood. Attractive board. Only showing you a piece of it. I don't want to unfold it. You can look at the playthrough if you want to see that. Some little chits. All pretty standard quality for a Euro. You know, nothing to just say, oh my god, it's so fantastic, because they're all so fantastic. You know, they all really do come out with very high quality of components. And I'll call out when it isn't. This is fine, you know. It's actually, I found, kind of pretty. Theme, very little, right? I mean, but it fits nicely with what's going on. It's sort of the game. I'm not sure if the system was designed without the theme in sight or not. But with the theme in a vague sort of moving from place to place idea, it works very well. But this is the kind of light and simple Euro that I actually really kind of enjoy. The only problem that I have, and I've brought this up other times, and it's really with the type of game. How many of these do you need? You know, I've got Carcassonne, that's good. This is good too. Is this better than Carcassonne? I feel like this has a little bit less total, I don't know, less total playings in it, as it were. It's not going to remain as interesting as long as something as Carcassonne will. But to tell you the truth, each of these is things that maybe I'd use as a filler in a gaming group. Both this and Carcassonne. Or something to take along to a coffee shop and play. Without really wanting to do it again anytime too soon. You know, I play a game of this and I want to play another one maybe because I screwed something up. But that's it, you know, after I've taken 2 looks at it, I'm not going to be interested in seeing it again for quite some time. And that's one of the real problems. I think it's a clever little game. It's nicely positioned. But is it really something that you want to play again and again? There's somehow a sort of addictive factor to Carcassonne that I find works a little better. But almost all of these kind of fall into the same realm, these lighter Euros. I have enough of them. Generally, if I play now with my wife, we set it up, we learn it, we play it. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't quite get that. We play it again. That's what happened with this one. Then, in a couple of cases, very few, things like Ra, like Carcassonne, Landslide as well, which isn't a Euro, but something just clicks for us, you know, and it's nothing more than taste, but I suspect there's something in place in Carcassonne that I cannot quite identify that just makes it more enjoyable. It's not a matter that I can, you know, dissect and say, there's more interesting decisions. I don't feel like that's really something that, say, drives my wife's interest in it. And for me, to me, they're all the same in a sort of way. So it's tough to really look at. So for me, I look at it and I say, well, okay, but why do I need so many of these? If I was playing back like I once was in a regular gaming group, cards were the general filler. We had some Euros. My old friend Tom used to bring a stack of games, you know, every time that he wanted to play. And some would be Crayon Rails, XX, whatever, and then he'd have a few of the light Euros in there too as filler type games. And But even he didn't really want to play the same Euro very often, these filler type ones, and was usually as happy playing a good game of cards. And he was probably our strongest proponent for the Euro style games that we had in our group. In fact, he didn't like most anything else. I mean, he liked the XXs, he liked the Mayfair crayon rails, but he wasn't all that interested in playing anything that was a heavier game after some period of time. Early on, he was much better about it, and mainly because he didn't realize I can get 6 chances to play a game that's just as interesting. But with these really lighter ones, I don't think there was this tremendous draw towards anyone. I don't think there are many people who go out of their way and say, "Oh yeah, I'm really in the mood to play this." There's just not enough of a story there. There's not enough effort, so it's kind of interesting, but it gets put in the pile with the others, and then it just becomes this sort of personal taste thing. Could this one hook you more than Carcassonne? Well, it's very fixed in positioning. Carcassonne has that board that gets built as you go. That makes it all so different every time. Here it feels like you're making the same decision with the same visual input throughout a fairly short game that kind of feels a little too long because of it. So it's not so much a matter that the decisions are more complex in Carcassonne or in this, or are of any particularly different magnitude, although they may be. Carcassonne, you have some options, as to general strategies. In this, you're really led to one thing. It's just how you kind of trick people. But I like both in terms of the mechanisms themselves. What this lacks is something to kind of shake it up. It has something to shake it up in the sense that the order you get your pieces is different, so that you can't just say, okay, I do this, I do that. It's not a game of Chinese checkers, just a multiplayer pure strategy game. It is a game where there's a little bit of luck involved, especially the little press your luck thing at the end, which is cute, but not, not really where you're putting a lot of thought into the game. You're putting your thought pretty much into, how to maneuver your messengers and how to best take advantage of how other people are going to play, etc. I think it's very clever on those sides, but it's missing that replay value. And then it kind of falls down to this, okay, so, what does it market for? I don't know. I bought used and paid very little for it, and then that, always ends up, I pay more, though, for the shipping, so I probably paid somewhere over $10 in total for getting this, unless I got it in a pile of things, which is possible. How many times am I going to play it, Is it worth the $10? Is it worth actually, unwrapping it from the mail, having it on my shelves, all these kind of things. And that's kind of the difficulty that a game like this brings up. It's a good game. It's fun. I have a good time playing it. I've got others like it. It doesn't seem to matter how many of these I have. It's not like one pushes the others aside or anything, except in the case of something like Carcassonne, where I do actually want to play it more than once. It's just, okay, I had that experience. Maybe I'll want it again in a couple of years. It's the same feeling I have towards the big games, which is, okay, I did that, that's cool. Now you're going to take up shelf space equal to this for, years and years, and you're only going to take me 20 minutes, an hour out of each of my years. I don't know if that's worth it. And that's a decision I have to make on these guys. And it's actually, even a good game like this, I might be willing to get rid of. I'm beginning to consider that I have to sell games, largely because I have some non-war game stuff that just hasn't impressed me that much. This I think I'd probably keep because I do like it overall. and I think it's a fun little game, but it's not going to get that much value for me. And that it's kind of the problem with the genre. You know, if these were $3 to $5 games in the store, if you could pick them up at the drugstore, if they were like the little card sets or whatever for Old Maid, great. But selling it as a designer game, and I understand there's effort, I don't know if it's more effort, but there's significant effort that goes into making something like this, to balancing it out, to getting it all right. I just can't see wanting to play it that many times. That may be me. Anyway, if you're into these lighter Euros and really do like studying a situation like this with these for some reason, this one's may not be at all bad. And, you know, I mean, again, for me, I enjoy playing it. I really like the fast decision making that this game kind of, and Carcassonne as well, kind of sparks in you. This, okay, I just do this, I do this, I do this. That's how I want to play. I don't want to be agonizing over every decision. I want them to just kind of fall into place. Doesn't mean that there aren't important decisions. It's filled with them. Every decision is important in a sense. It's just that there's nothing in them that usually causes me to overthink in the way that, say, something like Advanced Civilization, where you have to, you know, look at this whole menu of things available to you and pick one. Well, here there's still a big menu of things available, but they're very small. They're like making, you know, an individual move in a war game each. It's fairly easy, and you have this sort of vague, yeah, it's good to get my pieces up. Yeah, I want to get my message up. These kind of conflicting paths, but they don't really necessarily turn into the sort of mathematical formulae that some games turn into, where you can actually calculate out what is the value of this move, okay, and now I can rank it against all the other possible moves, where I actually go through them and evaluate them. Here, there's a couple of things that you look at and you say, that might be interesting, that might be interesting. You can just trigger in and focus in on the couple of decent moves that are there. Kind of like in chess, where I think, you know, once you're kind of familiar with chess, it's very easy. No, I'm not going to move this pawn forward one space. I'm not even going to be thinking along those lines. And this, I think, directs you far away from lines where you don't have to think. It's very easy to cull a large area of the problem space without worrying about it. And that's nice. All right, up it goes.